love this particular kind of lookout point on Highway 14 heading up to Lancaster for this lovely kind of lake that looks to be man-made, and this one lone windmill standing tall over said lake. Kind of cool. You almost never see just one of those big modern high-tech windmills. Well, that's what we're looking at over the Antelope Valley. And that includes Lancaster, Palmdale, Sun Village, Victorville, and a whole bunch of other municipalities. Can't quite read. But yeah, Lancaster. That is our destination today. Hey everybody, it's your old pal Robert from ThrillRide.com. How you doing? So yeah, I'm back out on the road up to Lancaster, California on a very warm day. This really feels like the first day of summer out here, even though we're well past the official start of summer. And what's drawing me out here are two particular destinations. One of them is called the Musical Road, and we'll get into that a little bit later in detail. But something I discovered recently after doing a little more research into the area around Charlie Brown Farms, that amazing gift shop that I came out to see a few weeks back. And the other thing that is not too far away from the Musical Road is something called the Blackbird Air Park. And this is adjacent to Edwards Air Force Base, and apparently has a few full-size, I don't know whether they're functioning or formerly functioning Blackbird spy planes or replicas of, but it sounded pretty cool. And it's a free outdoor park, so thought, yeah, that's worth checking out as well. So yeah, let's keep heading further north into the heat and take a look around. So here we are, really out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden there's this very well manicured stretch of road off, what was it, Highway 14. I think it was Avenue G is the exit, and we are heading towards the Musical Road. I mean, it is just like, you look out the window, it's desolate out here. We are truly in the high desert. I think there's a, oh, there it is. There's a sign. Look at that. The Musical Road, baby. All right. Oh, man. I have no idea what to expect. I think they say you need to travel at 55 miles an hour. So we're gonna do that. Set the old cruise control. All right. That is gloriously absurd. Oh my goodness, I love that so much. I'm doing that again. That is supposed to be the William Tell Overture. And I kind of hear it a little bit, but I think getting your vehicle speed just so will help make that more apparent. But either way, I mean, it's so strange and wonderful that this is out here in the middle of nowhere. There are the occasional passing cars and trucks, but it is otherwise very, very unoccupied out here right now. The world needs more whimsy like this. We just need more like roads and highways to make music. Well, of course, originally the neighbors where this originally was installed loved it, and then they pretty quickly got sick of it, which is why it's out here in the middle of nowhere. So maybe not everywhere, but certainly less populated areas. So this Musical Road concept apparently has been, or was first created somewhere in Europe, but this one was the first one built in America, And it was actually created by the Honda Motor Company, automakers, for an ad campaign. And it was originally installed on Avenue K up here in Lancaster. And again, the local residents were not too pleased. It was charming at first, but it actually is fairly audible. So they had to pave that down. And but the city didn't want to lose it. They loved the attention it garnered for the area. So they went ahead and recarved it here in the road on this, again, less populated area on Avenue G. And it's between 30th and 40th Streets, if you need to look it up. So yeah, very, very cool that they preserved it. And so the idea is these kind of very rumble strip-like grooves make different tones as you drive over them at certain speeds. And they wanted to create something that sounded pretty close to the finale of the William Tell Overture, which was made famous as the theme for the Lone Ranger. And again, it's a pretty reasonable facsimile given the performance method. And they even tell you just a little bit further out, maybe about a mile or so, that it's coming. And then here, left lane is where you want to be. And I've read both 50 and 55 miles per hour are the optimal speeds. I don't think you're going to get a pitch perfect rendition no matter what you do, but it's so close that it's fun enough. I can see how this might get old after weeks and weeks and weeks of it, but I'm just utterly charmed so far. And these are the grooves cut into the asphalt that make the noise. So you can see, I'm wondering if it's the spacing between them that adjusts the pitch. So the first three should be the same, da-da-da, da-da-da, for 6. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. And of course, I'm not really counting how many I've gone. Right, and the number of them determines the duration of the note. So if it needs to hold for a measure or two, it's longer. And now I'm not seeing that there might be a variance in the space between the grooves. Maybe it's the depths of the grooves. Yeah. Okay, actually, these do seem to be a little closer together than the others. So I'm going to assume, yeah, that will give you a higher note. But if anybody out there knows for sure, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. Can't quite get that final high note, and no joke, it's the volume is pretty high, so I can see why they ended up having to move it to a place where it wouldn't impact local residents quite so much. So here's a crazy thought for a new type of musical performance. You create a giant open cement field with all these grooved sections, different notes, different durations, whatever, and then the driver of the car composes or plays a new composition, making his or her own path through this kind of playing field, as it were. And yeah, I don't know, call it auto-tune or something. I don't know. I like the idea of combining the sport of driving with musical performance. This is also a great example of the Doppler effect in action. Note the pitch drop as the vehicle passes by. That was one of my favorite part of high school physics, learning about the Doppler effect. You could do multiple lanes. So you can have a second lane that harmonizes with the first. Do 4 lanes and do it a barbershop quartet. Oh yeah, there's a lot of room for growth here, I think. All right, here we go. Encore performance by the Musical Road. Just fantastic. So one of the neat things about this area, this kind of Lancaster, Palmdale, General Antelope Valley region, is that there's a lot of really cool aerospace history here in Southern California. And not too far away from the Musical Road is this thing called the Blackbird Air Park, an annex of the Air Force Flight Test Museum, which unfortunately is only open on weekdays. So it's going to be a little tricky getting in there. But this air park, as far as I understand it, is free. And you can just kind of walk in and look at this collection of pretty badass aircraft, including right out here in front, an SR-71 Blackbird, or 2 it looks like. Yeah. I'm just never going to get tired of looking at these amazing planes. They are incredibly cool. Got to see one pretty up close at the Marshfield Air Museum a little while back, and they had a couple more parked outside the California Science Center, where they have the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Oh, I love that. And you can see in the exhaust ports, they got a covering that has the logo for the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. So cool. And that's where the SR-71 was developed. So this is a Lockheed D-21 drone, an unmanned ramjet-powered craft designed to be air-launched from atop an A-12, a redesignated M-21 mothership, conceived as a reconnaissance platform that would fly over high-threat targets without endangering a pilot. Okay, well, I'm no aviation expert, and I guess this is actually properly called the Lockheed A-12. In 1959, the Central Intelligence Agency established Project Oxcart to develop and field an operational high-speed, high-altitude reconnaissance airplane as a successor to the U-2. The result was the Lockheed A-12, a titanium composite aircraft capable of cruising at Mach 3.2 and attaining altitudes of up to 90,000 feet. Wow. Yeah, these are pretty magnificent looking aircraft. From that needle nose to that really sleek, angular kind of cockpit shell. And I like the way the 2 vertical stabilizers back there are sort of canted inwards a little bit. That is neat. And these giant engines, oh man. Oh, that's cool. Right outside they've got a naked one. Outside its protective shell, a Pratt & Whitney J58. There you go. That is quite a power plant. And as happens quite a bit in the aerospace industry, competitors will work together to accomplish a pretty difficult task. And Pratt & Whitney and Lockheed actually worked together to produce this engine. Yeah, so this aircraft here to the right of the A-12, this is an SR-71 Blackbird. Oh man. Yeah, let's take another close look at that rather adorable Skunk Works logo. Great book too. If you want to know more about the amazing technologies that came out of Skunk Works, there is a book called Skunk Works. I think it was written in the 80s, 90s, but it's loaded with super cool stuff. I just remember one particular detail. I think it was called Project Aurora, and it was the development of a plane that had a skin whose color could change. So you could be flying through the sky and an enemy would spot you, and then you could transform chameleon-like into another color. Pretty cool. I don't know whether that ever actually went into active duty or not. I very much dig the incredibly boxy look of this U.S. Air Force fire truck. Maybe not aerodynamic, but it's got its own style. Yeah, I wasn't 100% certain, so I went into the gift shop to make sure that this is indeed free, and it is. You can make a donation or make a purchase in the gift shop to help support the upkeep. But yeah, what a cool little resource. And here's a map of all the different planes on exhibit. Oh heck yeah, this is fantastic. Oh man, it is a wide variety of different kind of aircraft. Small planes, big planes, civilian, military. Oh, neat. And I love how they've kind of set up these pathways and pylons around the different planes so to guide you through them. All right, an F-86 Sabre. So this was apparently an experimental aircraft produced by North American Aviation. I'm not familiar with this plane, but I do like those snub-nosed craft that have the air intake right there in the nose of the plane. I do love getting to see these exposed engines. This is the J75, a military version of a commercial engine produced by the Boeing company. Well, this is clearly a model and not a full-size version of the B-2 Spirit. But yeah, that is a model of the stealth bomber produced by the Northrop Grumman Corporation. And yeah, broke several records. Largest stealth aircraft ever built, largest flying wing aircraft ever built, considered the most survivable aircraft in the world, and the most expensive, priced at about $2 billion a piece. I'm not able to find the information panel for this beautiful bird, but I love the vintage look. And it does appear to be in the service of the United States Air Force. Looks like it might have had more of a personnel carrying set of duties rather than offensive aircraft. But man, this kind of look, it just feels like it's got the glory days of early aviation deeply embedded in its DNA. Yeah. I know we can make them fly farther, faster, and higher, but you gotta love this vintage aesthetic. That is the F-101 Voodoo, a supersonic escort craft, apparently. That does look built for speed. And this is the F-100 Super Sabre, nicknamed Hun. H-U-N. That's pretty adorable. And gotta love the very patriotic livery. Is that what they call that? Patriotic livery on the plane. Here's another one from Lockheed, the F-104 Starfighter, which is already a pretty cool name. And according to the plaque there, this was basically considered a missile with a man in it. So I guess this one was built for speed as well. That does pretty much look like a missile with some pretty small wings on it, yeah. And here's another one with a great name, the F-105 Thunder Chief. Another high-speed offensive plane, and its nickname is Thud. T-H-U-D. A little less elegant than Hun, but I like the camo paint on this one too. And of course, here's the plane that Top Gun made famous, the Grumman F-14 Tomcat, with its dual rear tail fins and jet exhausts. Oh yeah. If I were given the chance to take a ride in one military aircraft, I think it would be this plane. Get on board and launch off the deck of an aircraft carrier. I mean, just to feel the incredible G-forces of getting thrown straight forward, the engine's kicking in and this thing taking to the skies. And not quite sure how Felix the cat became a mascot for the the ordnance on this plane, but that's pretty adorable. Oh, that's really cool. You can see the hook that would drop down at the back of the plane when it was coming in for landing is up there, kind of locked in place. That black and white striped beam there at the back. Neat. And again, I've said it before, if you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick, do yourself a favor. It is one of the best films of recent times. It's so good. Right here in the foreground is a Model 143-Triumph, which is a Burt Rutan aircraft from Scale Composites, his company. Of course, Burt, one of the pioneering modern aviators who got us around the world on a single tank of gas with his one of his designs. And then back here, I think this is the plane, or one of the planes, that would transport the space shuttle. Yeah. And you can see the massive extra stabilizers they added in the back to handle the additional weight, and then the braces up on top where they'd mount the shuttle. Wow. Oh, I never thought I'd get this close to one of these planes. So sweet. And it is Titanic. I mean, this is basically, I think, a 747 that was kind of gutted and repurposed for this this role. Oh yeah, that is one impressive aircraft. So I'm old enough to remember when Boeing first introduced the 747, the Super Jumbo. And as a young lad, just hearing that expression, Super Jumbo, boy, that really sparked my imagination. This gigantic plane that would take hundreds of people across the oceans. Yeah, so incredible. So it does look like the era of really, really gigantic passenger aircraft may be over. Just the fact that you just can't build them much bigger because you don't have the runways to support them, and fuel costs and all that. Maybe when we get to all electric planes, we'll start reinvestigating these super massive planes that'll carry, you know, hundreds or thousands of people at a time. But for now, yeah, we've got the remaining 747s and A380s that are still in service. Yeah, to see a live landing, one of these planes returning with a shuttle. I wish I'd seen that. I'm sorry I missed all those. I know NASA is kind of an easy target. You know, they're a big, bumbling, bureaucratic agency, spend too much money, blah, 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 blah. But the historical legacy of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration is so vast and immeasurably important to our history that I can't not love NASA. I mean, it's always going to be near and dear to my heart as an agency. And I hope it continues to be a part of space exploration in some way as we go forward. That'll do, plane. That'll do. And it's great that you can walk under the plane and get a close-up look at the landing gear. I find this somehow poetic that there's bird poop on the wheels of this plane. As if nature were saying, yeah, whatever, humans. Yeah, look at this kind of random little fin and some sort of a signal light. Oh man, I mean, you just get right up and touch them. That's great. Wow. And this is free. You can just come in here and walk around. They've got all the chicken wire up here to keep birds from nesting inside. That's something I'd love to do someday too, is really take a good look at the inner workings of one of these giant planes. So you can see the this air park is right next to a working U.S. Air Force installation, and in the distance there on the left, some of those big gray buildings with a horizontal blue stripe around the top. That is a Lockheed Martin Skunk Works facility there. One can only imagine the incredible things going on behind those walls. And right here in the far corner of the Blackbird Air Park, the B-52 Stratofortress. Another airplane that very much captured my imagination as a young person learning about the history of aviation. It's just, you know, the sheer scale, the raw power, and the important role it played in our military history. It's one of those things you just you have to admire, as you may regret the fact that we have to have one, or fleets of them. Yeah, look at that. And the dual pod engine designs also give it a unique look that I really love. It's kind of like those tail lights on the 1959 Cadillac, the one with the huge rear vertical fins and the two kind of rocket pods perched on those fins. And here's another one of the naked power plants. And it took 8 of these to get the B-52 flying like a bird. And this is another detail that cannot be shared with too many other aircraft, that the edges, the outer edges of the wings have their own landing gear. I guess when the tanks are full and it's got a heavy load, the wings could dip low enough, you'd need to have wheels out on the outside. It's also pretty great, they have picnic tables in the shade of the wings of the larger aircraft, so if you just want to have a little snack out here and bask in the glory of these planes, you can do that too. And I'm guessing this is some kind of a rocket-powered bomb that the B-52 would release. Yeah, so these missiles are called the Hound Dog, and were designed to be mounted on the wings of the B-52. And that is a pretty bulky bomb. You can tell why they would need the extra wheel gear on the wings if they were hauling one of these guys. And yes, in case you were wondering, Hound Dog, named after the hit Elvis Presley song. Man, nothing but a hound dog. I will never subject you to that again, I promise. So you can see on the tail of this plane, there's a kind of a mission patch for the Air Force Research Laboratory. And this was kind of like a concept plane, part of their advanced composite cargo research. And yeah, this is built to look at different ways to manufacture a plane so it's lighter, can carry more, you know, be more fuel efficient, and you know, just work out some manufacturing techniques that could be added to future plane designs. I tell you, when you look at these exposed engines, it's hard to wrap your head around that knot of pipes, hoses, compressors, valves, gears. I mean, that A, somebody thought up how to do this, and B, somebody else figured out how to make it real. Insane. The J-33A, originally developed by General Electric for the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star. And here it is right next door, the T-33 Shooting Star. Looks like another agile little sporty craft. Another very patriotic paint job. All right, and here is a commemorative plaque that honors the person for which this park is named, Joe Davies Jr., a life of service to country and community. Nice. The Joe Davies Heritage Air Park at Plant 42 was dedicated to him on February 7, 2008 for his multiple contributions to the Antelope Valley and his service to the aerospace and aeronautical industries. Awesome. Well, and here's an F-16 called the Salty Dog, and yeah, wherever you see this beige camo, think you can pretty safely say this was involved in one of the Middle Eastern conflicts. And here's an A7 Corsair II. Another plane that has this big air intake right at the nose of the craft, underneath the nose. Another kind of cool design I like. And this one here, this gray fighter, not quite sure what that is, but it looks to have the similar kind of engines on a lot of Grumman planes, so I'm just gonna make a guess. I'm sorry, no, this is a F4 Phantom II, manufactured by McDonnell Aircraft. There you go, live and learn. And this is the T-38 Talon from Northrop Aircraft. Talon, that's another great name for an offensive aircraft. So this is the A-4 Skyhawk. And you can see, I guess, the last pilot assigned to the plane was Pilot Major J. Stegman, United States Marine Corps. And at a lot of these exhibits, maybe all of them, there's also a little biographical information about the pilot that was associated with this aircraft. And here, James J. Stegman, 1920 to 2009, became a civilian in 1955. Oh, and then was a cheap production test pilot here at Palmdale Plant 42. Boy, from a distance, this looked like some sort of astronaut helmet for a space duck, but it is actually the space shuttle test sled. And I guess, yeah, look at this. They would put astronauts inside this thing and shoot it down a track to test how they would respond to the G-forces during takeoff. And it's kind of a small thing, but you can actually walk up through the cowling of a jet engine. That's something I never thought I'd do and live to tell about it. Yeah. And there and again and in the distance, the Skunk Works, baby. And this adorable little thing is a A-4AR cockpit trainer to train pilots and revamp controls in an aircraft that was sold to Argentina. But what's amazing is, I mean, you can see, look at how tight a space that is in there. I mean, that is just enough room for the pilot and the controls and almost nothing else. Yeah, man. I think whatever minor claustrophobia I might suffer from would probably keep me from ever being a fighter pilot, along with my eyesight. All right, I think that is going to bring this one to a close. So as always, thank you so much for coming along. And yeah, this is kind of a weird little grab bag of experiences out here in the high desert, but there's a lot more to see here. I really do want to find a way to get into the actual museum, which is only open on the weekdays. And there's a bunch of other cool stuff out here. You know, the more I'm looking around, the more I'm discovering. So I will be returning to this, to the good old Antelope Valley quite a bit in the years to come. So take care, and we will catch you in the next one.